So this video is all about the topic of density as shown in our worksheet. So the definition of density is a substance mass per unit volume. So the amount of mass, amount of matter per unit volume. So typically density is used to calculate the amount or sometimes the volume or determine what material are we using. As stated in the first bullet, the density of the substance does not depend on the shape, but per se it's all about the material. As seen in this illustration, the steel density of a cube is the same as the density of a nail that is made out of the same material of steel, where it's in fact the volume of 1 cubic centimeter. If we have 1 centimeter length, 1 centimeter width, and 1 centimeter depth, calculating to figure out the volume, and the density would be 7.8 grams per cubic centimeter. And if it's a small piece of nail where the volume is 1.6 centimeter cube or cubic centimeter, while the mass is 12.5 grams, it will also come up with a density of 7.8 gram per cubic centimeter. This means that the density of the cube is the same as the density of the nail, even though the shape and the size are not the same because it's made of the same material. So that's something that we must understand, that density is used to determine what kind of material we're using, and at the same time to be able to calculate the mass and the volume of said material. The equation for density is as follows. So I'm going to write down on the paper, and that is rho, which is equivalent to mass over volume V, where rho is the symbol for density, and the usual unit of density is grams, which is mass over cubic centimeter. M stands for mass, and that is in terms of grams. And then we have V as in volume, and that is in terms of cubic centimeter. So these are the values, these are the information that you should know. Volume, if it's a cube, that is width times length times height. If it's a cylinder, for example, volume of a cylinder, so this will give you pi r square multiplied by the length of the cylinder, or sometimes also known as the height of the cylinder. So this is for a cube, and this is for your cylinder. So these are the two common volumes or shape that we use. Though calculation of density is usually in terms of grams per cubic centimeter, which is indicated right here. Let me use a different color pen. Grams per cubic centimeter can also be converted into kilograms per cubic centimeter. Okay. So this can be converted. Just follow the same conversion rule or conversion technique that is being used in previous lesson. Now, if you know the density of a substance, you can calculate the mass of the sample. So starting from the same equation, which is density is equivalent to mass over volume, you can solve for the volume, or you can solve for the mass, since it says here, it indicates that we know the density. use a different color. So if we know the density and we know the volume, so therefore we can just manipulate the equation. So the manipulated equation will come up with mass is equivalent to density multiplied by the volume. Now, next step is, if you know the density of a substance and the mass of a sample, now we can actually calculate for the volume of the sample. So meaning, if we start with the original equation, which is density equivalent to mass over volume, if we know our density and we know the mass of the sample, we can therefore solve for the volume by manipulating the equation, so you have mass over the density. In the succeeding part of the video, we will be solving problems and apply this basic equation.